Part 81. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 801. Chapter 801 Proposal 3. Kenny, why don't you eat? Isn't it delicious? I think it's delicious. Jian Yuman's beautiful eyes have been thinking about the food on Kenny's plate since just now. Her portion has already been eaten. She ate it all, but she still wanted to eat. Seeing that he didn't move much, she wanted to eat it. No, Kenny raised his head, but Jian Yuman shook his head quickly, keeping his bright eyes staring at the person opposite. Then why don't you eat? If you don't eat, I'll help you. Jian Yuman opened her mouth and smiled happily, stretched out her hand and smuggled some directly onto her plate. While transporting, she accidentally dropped a piece of shrimp. She was so distressed that she almost burst into tears. However, she didn't mind at all. She quickly picked up the piece of shrimp that fell aside and put it in her mouth. Kenny was nervous and didn't know what to say, so he witnessed Jian Yuman's feat of stealing the food from his plate, just like a little thief, and gave him a sly smile, as if he was a villain. Kenny was amused for a moment, and all his nervousness disappeared without a trace after she made him do this. Little funny boy. Kenny gently called Jian Yuman's nickname with joy. He had been calling Jian Yuman that way for the past few years. What? Jian Yuman stuffed a bunch of food into her mouth and looked at her doubtfully. Because her mouth was stuffed with too much food, it almost overflowed. As a result, the bite range was very small, so it was a bit laborious to eat. If she were at home, she would take out some, but thinking that this was a high-end restaurant, she ate the food in her mouth desperately. She secretly swore in her heart that next time she ate out, she would not be so satisfied that it would ruin her image. But today's dishes were so delicious that she couldn't help but stuff too much into them and couldn't control them at all. Look at the way you eat. Kenny forgot about his proposal, raised his hands to the table, put the ring box beside the table, took out his handkerchief and wiped the soup that overflowed from the corners of Jian Yuman's mouth. No one is trying to compete with you, and your mouth is full of oil when you eat. Look at you, even little Mickey doesn't eat like this anymore. Kenny lovingly wiped the corners of Jian Yuman's mouth with gentle movements. He only wiped the corners of her mouth very carefully. Jian Yuman realized something was wrong with Kenny from the moment he took his hand out from under the table. She could distinguish the ring box at a glance, and coupled with the strange environment around her, she completely realized that Kenny called her out for dinner today, not just for a meal, but that he wanted to propose. I wipe. Jian Yuman was so shocked that she forgot to continue chewing. She even opened her mouth slightly because she was so shocked that one of the shrimps in her mouth actually fell out. Jian Yuman's shocked expression was so obvious that Kenny was stunned for a second, and then he realized that he had just said that the ring box was placed on the table, and Jian Yuman realized the situation. Kenny put away the handkerchief in his hand, smiled slightly, and waved his hand in front of her eyes. Little funny boy, what are you doing? Jian Yuman suddenly came back to her senses, smiled awkwardly at Kenny, covered her mouth and turned her head to chew the food in her mouth quickly. It's too embarrassing, it's really too embarrassing. Kenny was going to propose to him, and she actually made a fool of himself. Kenny must have deeply regretted falling in love with a woman like her at this moment. Even she felt deep sympathy for comrade Kenny. His heart must be broken at the moment. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 802. Chapter 802 Proposal 4. Nothing. Jian Yuman finally finished the food in her mouth, and then immersed herself in eating the food on the plate, never raising her head for a second. She felt very embarrassed inside. She didn't expect to face what was about to happen next. It came too suddenly for her. Kenny put away the handkerchief and then noticed that the ring box he had just put on the table was also seen by Jian Yuman opposite. Kenny covered his forehead in annoyance. He was actually careless at this time. When Jianyuman saw it, he felt calmer. He reached out and took out the ring from the box beside the table, holding it in his hand and playing with it. Little funny boy, we have known each other for 2.5 years, since Jianyuman had seen it all. He did not pretend to be pretentious and confessed directly. They have known each other for more than 2 years, and he has always been by her side, but he has never told Jianyuman his true feelings. 2 years have passed, and he thinks the time is almost up, so he specially chooses a foreign country and will leave London tomorrow to express his true feelings. Yes, Jianyuman lowered her head and ate, expressing her gratitude softly. Little funny boy, look at me. Kenny's posture was rare and his tone was serious. Jianyuman had already guessed what was going to happen next. She raised her head with some embarrassment and smiled at Kenny. What's wrong? Kenny reached out, grabbed Jianyuman's hand, pulled her towards him, clasped his hands together and wrapped her hand in his palm. I have something to say to you. It's over, Kenny Oba is going to confess to her. What is she going to do? How can I stop him from confessing? She didn't want to hurt him. Jianyuman thought anxiously in her heart, feeling a little flustered. Across from her, Kenny stared at her lovingly with his eyes. His tone was gentle, and he said a line of proposal lines that he had rehearsed countless times. In the past 2 years I have been with you, I have cherished every minute and every second of my time with you. When I took you to Paris, I wanted to give you a new life. During this time with you, see as you slowly come out of the pain of the past and slowly return to the cheerful optimism of the past, my affection for you has also increased little by little, until now I can no longer restrain myself from expressing it to you. Little Daobi, I love you, and I want to give you and your children a home. I will never make you feel wronged or sad through thick and thin in the future, and I will always be kind to you. The future will be better to you than the past, and we will cherish our marriage even more. In your married life, I will let you understand that being with me will make you happier. Marry me. Okay. Kenny looked at Jianyuman with eyes full of love, and he couldn't hide it at all. In the past, Jianyuman would always find him looking at her like this from time to time. In the past, she always avoided it and pretended not to know. But this time she realized that this approach was wrong, and he became more and more affectionate towards her. Jianyuman's cheeks were slightly red, and her mood was very complicated. She had finally faced the things she was facing. Kenny Appa, I'm not worthy of you. I'm a divorced woman with an oil bottle, and you are the son of the richest man in the world. You are young and promising and have never been married. With conditions like yours, you are worthy of being better than me. A woman 1,000 times better will be your wife. Jianyuman tried to take her hand out of his palm, but Kenny held her tightly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 803. Chapter 803 Proposal 5. Jianyuman tried to take her hand out of his palm, but Kenny held it more firmly. Kenny shook his head repeatedly and said slightly excitedly, I don't care about this. If I did, I wouldn't propose to you, let alone take good care of your mother and son in the past 2.5 years. You don't care, I do. To be honest, Mickey's father still exists in my heart. I have even decided not to remarry. A failed marriage is enough. I know you are a good man, but I can't accept it. Your feelings. I'm sorry, I can't accept your feelings. I can't fall in love with you, let's just be friends. Jianyuman knew that she shouldn't be sloppy when it came to Kenny's feelings. He was qualified to know her thoughts. Her feelings for him were just between friends, and there was no love in them. Although saying it so bluntly was a blow to him, she still had to say it bluntly. Kenny's eyes were lost for a moment, he lowered his head sadly, and asked again with a choked voice. You, still love him? Sorry. She knew clearly that she still had feelings for Tangyuj, even if they were no longer possible, she still loved him and couldn't help but love him. Even if he had remarried and had children, her love for him had not died. In the torrent of time. Maybe one day I will forget Tangyuj, but definitely not now. It would be unfair to Kenny to accept his feelings before letting go of Tangyuj. Since Kenny chose to propose, she had an obligation to tell him clearly. Little funny boy, I can wait. Just when Jian-Yuman thought Kenny was giving up the proposal, he unexpectedly put the ring into her palm. I know it will be difficult for you to forget Tangyuj in 2 years, but I am willing to wait. I hope that when you forget your ex, the first thing you think of is me. I am willing to be your knight and always guard you. Even if you fall in love with another man in the end, I am willing to protect your love. I only hope you are happy and that little Mickey has a happy and healthy family. My ring is temporarily placed with you, and you will return it to me when you get married someday. If you are willing to accept my feelings someday, just wear the ring and appear in front of me. Even if I am your safe haven, I will accept your arrival unconditionally. Kenny had a faint smile on his lips and stared at her beautiful face affectionately. His palms were sweaty because of nervousness, waiting for Jian-Yuman's answer. Jian-Yuman stared blankly at the man in front of her who was smiling like a spring breeze. He was obviously a high-ranking prince, but he was willing to lower his status and stay with her as a guardian knight. Obviously he could live in the castle and marry the princess, but he was willing to be her knight without asking for anything in return, taking care of little Mickey who was not related to him by blood. It would be a lie to say that he was not moved. With the support of the beautiful piano sound, Jian-Yuman's emotions were affected by him in a magical way. Tears filled his eyes and fell down his face like a kite with a broken string. He was out of control. Why is he willing to do this for himself? Why is the person she loves not Kenny Appa? If the person she loves is him, she will definitely be very happy and suffer less emotional pain. It won't be like this now, and I can only rely on longing to maintain this long-broken relationship. Knowing that she would be happy if she let go of Tangyuj. Kenny Appa. I love you. Love you. 3. Mom. Great. I want to marry you and give you a baby. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 804. Chapter 804 Proposal 6. But when she faced Kenny's confession, the strongest thought in her heart was, why was it that the person who confessed to her was not Tangyuj? If it were Tangyuj, even if it was 1/10, she would faint from happiness. Little funny boy, don't feel pressured. Even if I am just protecting you, I feel very happy and will not have any dissatisfaction. Little Mickey is so cute, even if he is not your son, I am willing to love him. You are so it's fun and cute. Just watching you eat makes me happy all day long. I'm very satisfied. Kenny winked playfully, reached out and gently patted the back of her hand, and in turn comforted Jian-Yuman. Looking at Kenny's bright smile, Jian-Yuman cried even more sadly, and even covered her face and burst into tears. It's all your fault. I managed to put on makeup today without being too lazy, and you still made me cry. Jian-Yuman pouted her cherry lips and complained dissatisfiedly. Jian-Yuman let go of the hand covering her eyes, revealing her face that was red from crying. At this moment, Jian-Yuman looked a little miserable. She cried so hard that her eyeliner was blurred from crying, and her tears were black. She looked very cute on her face, and her appearance could not be compared with her good looks. Seeing Jian-Yuman's appearance, Kenny tried his best to keep a smile and affectionate eyes. After seeing Jian-Yuman's current situation clearly, he couldn't help but turned his head and covered his mouth in happiness. As expected of his little joker, he can always make him happy. Jian-Yuman noticed that he was smiling and stopped crying. She picked up the spoon on the table and looked at her face from the spoon. Since the spoon has a convex surface, the face reflected from the spoon is an enlarged version, with 2 lines of black tears added to it, and it looks really funny. Jian-Yuman looked at his face, then covered his face with his hands and said embarrassedly, "I'm going to the bathroom." It was really embarrassing. The eyeliner she wore today was not waterproof. It was so ugly that she didn't want to look directly at herself. When she saw herself in the toilet, her eye sockets were slightly swollen, and she had already eaten up all the lipstick on her lower lip. Her smudged eye makeup and shocking black eyeliner made her look the ugliest she had ever seen. "Shame on you." Jian-Yuman quickly tidied up the makeup on her face, but no matter how she tidied it up, it still lacked the exquisite makeup she just had. In the end, Jian-Yuman accepted the ring. Kenny Appa said so. If she didn't accept the ring, it would only make him sad. She kept it with her for the time being, and at the same time warned herself to try to cultivate a relationship with him. Maybe one day you will really fall in love with this man who is willing to protect you wholeheartedly. Emotions sometimes need to be cultivated. After accepting the ring, Jian-Yuman also made up her mind to start trying to cultivate love with Kenny after returning from London. Sometimes, fate just plays tricks on people. When you make a decision, there will always be countless possibilities to overturn your decision and slowly push it towards its imagined trajectory. If you want to resist or escape, fate right there, no matter how many roads you walk and how many choices you make, the result is just some detours, and you will eventually return to the trajectory that belongs to you. Jian-Yuman and Tang Yuge, who were separated because of a perceived misunderstanding, did not want to disturb each other's lives. But there is an invisible hand of fate that firmly grasps the thread of their fate and entangles them together. In the end, they will still walk together and become entangled with each other. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 805. Chapter 805 Tang Gang's Harassment 1. In the next few days, Jian-Yuman was extremely busy. Due to her friendship during this period, the tasks assigned to her became more and more arduous, and the number of documents that needed to be translated and the number of times she accompanied Minister Jordan also increased. Minister Jordan would take her with him several times to accompany him to small banquets and meetings. Under highly stressful circumstances, she completed the task and gradually became accustomed to the position of translator. Because of Jian-Yuman's excellent appearance, it naturally brought some benefits to Minister Jordan. Some people even recognized Jian-Yuman's identity. However, Jian-Yuman only encountered the situation once. At that time, she and Minister Jordan were the only 2 people there. Jian-Yuman has always been a low-key person and does not like to show off her capital. What's more, the fact that she and Tang Yuge were husband and wife is not a very honorable thing for her, although it brings a lot of convenience, but I still resist the identity of the former Mrs. Tang in my heart. Minister Jordan clearly knew Jian-Yuman's identity and information, so at Jian-Yuman's request, he helped Jian-Yuman conceal it and did not want his colleagues to know. Jian-Yuman and Tang Yuge have not been married for a long time, so they don't know many people. They have attended many large and small conferences and banquets in the past few days. The person who recognized her was Bob Toyin, who had a close relationship with Tang Yuge. Compare. When Jian-Yuman was in Berlin, he met a benefactor of Tang Yuge. The other party also knew that Jian-Yuman and Tang Yuge were divorced, so they didn't say much, nor would they publicize her past. After all, being divorced was in the past tense, not the present continuous tense. On this day, Minister Jordan took Jian-Yuman out again without bringing any other officials. It was obviously a private action, but he needed the help of a translator. Jian-Yuman has encountered this situation once. It was basically a private gathering. We couldn't invite too many outsiders, so we would bring her or other translators. Jian-Yuman didn't notice anything different, so she followed Minister Jordan out obediently, with only a little makeup on her face. When Jian Yuman arrived at the Royal Hotel, she realized what the minister was thinking. The person he met today was Tang Yuj. When he arrived at the hotel door, Minister Jordan informed her. Minister Jordan didn't say anything because he felt guilty and didn't want to talk to Jian Yuman. He just gave the general direction. Jian Yuman was extremely depressed for a while, but she still acted calmly and generously, without showing off her appearance. If she reacts too violently, it will appear abnormal. Walking into the banquet box, Jian Yuman kept telling herself in her heart that she must not drink again today, for fear that she would do bad things if she drank again. Last time, she had better luck, so nothing happened. Next time she gets drunk, she will do something bad. Not sure, after all, not everyone is a gentleman. Luziy. Tang Yuj, who had been waiting for a long time, became very happy after Minister Jordan confirmed that he would bring Jian Yuman here today. He was able to do everything with ease and even arrived 20 minutes early to wait for Jian Yuman's arrival. Tang Yuj's eyes lit up when he saw Jian Yuman, who was still bright and charming even though she was wearing a little makeup today, and he immediately stepped forward to greet her with a smile like a ruffian. Minister Jordan, I have been waiting for you for a long time, and finally you are here. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 806. Chapter 806 Tang Gang's Harassment 2. Tang Yuj smiled warmly and opened his arms to hug Minister Jordan. He actually hugged Minister Jordan and then hugged each other. Seeing this situation, Jian Yuman's jaw almost dropped to the ground. Because of the etiquette between men, it is rare for men to touch each other, and even if it did, it would never happen to Mr. Tang. In the long time she has known Mr. Tang, she has never seen him and the etiquette of veneer for a man. She has only seen it once for a woman, and that was the Queen of Country. Why he pretended not to understand almost everyone else who wanted veneer. Today, she witnessed with her own eyes that Tang Yuj performed a kissing ritual on Minister Jordan, a middle-aged man with a somewhat plump figure. When he hugged him, the smile on his face almost split behind his ears. Then, Tang Yuj opened his arms again and hugged Jian Yuman enthusiastically. Long time no see, my ex-wife. Tang Yuj opened his arms. Before Jian Yuman could do it, he opened his arms and hugged her hard. Her hands were still hanging on both sides. Tang Yuj bent down and hugged Jian Yuman vigorously. Their cheeks were close to each other, expressing the joy in their hearts. Tang Yuj's hearty and joyful laughter could be heard in his ears. Tang Yuj held Jian Yuman for a short time, as if it was really just a courtesy for meeting, not to take advantage of Jian Yuman. Jian Yuman smiled awkwardly, especially when faced with Tang Yuj's name for herself. She couldn't help but complain. My ex-husband, your strength is getting stronger and stronger. Just now, I could hardly breathe while hugging her. Tang Yuj looked surprised when he heard this. My strength in certain aspects is not small. The corner of Jian Yuman's mouth twitched slightly. Why is this old gangster still such a gangster? When they were married, she had seen his two extremes before and after marriage. Tang Yuj, after becoming a vegetarian, always made her end up begging for mercy. She didn't expect that with their current relationship, he would actually act like a gangster to her. As expected, it's easy to change a person's nature. Minister Jordan already knew about the relationship between Jian Yuman and Tang Yuj, so Jian Yuman didn't need to be polite and just clicked her tongue at Tang Yuj, then glanced at Tang Yuj's crotch with disdain, and then walked proudly towards the dining table, leaving Tang Yuj alone. People are in the same place, full of joy. His ex-wife seems to be getting more and more exciting. Minister Jordan didn't notice what happened between them and went back with a confused look on his face. He just felt that there was a strange aura between Tanyuj and Tanyuj. So far, the situation is pretty good, at least there hasn't been a fight. The three people sat down one after another, and Jian Yuman was sandwiched between them. Minister Jordan was taking the menu and ordering. Jian Yuman also had one in her hand. She almost drooled when she looked at the food. After eating it some time ago, she had been thinking about eating here again, but it was too expensive here. Rise. Even if Kenny invites her to dinner, she won't come. The main reason is that this is a restaurant owned by Tanyuj. She always feels weird when she comes to eat here, and she can't help but think of everything about Tanyuj. On the contrary, in front of Tanyuj himself, and she was treating him again, she relaxed a lot and had the urge to order all the food. She didn't need to be polite to Tanyuj at all. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 807. Chapter 807 Tanggang's Harassment 3. Jian Yuman saw the food she wanted to eat and was about to call the waiter to take the order. Minister Jordan, please speak first, Tanyuj said with a smile. Jian Yuman couldn't help but look at him. I don't know why, even though it was a simple smile, there was a strange feeling in Jian Yuman's heart at this moment. A feeling of. With the smile Jian Yuman looked at Tanyuj. She couldn't tell what he wanted to do at the moment, but something bad was definitely waiting for her, because there was a sly smile in his eyes. Sure enough, things went as Jian Yuman thought. After Minister Jordan finished ordering, it was Tanyuj's turn to order. He ordered several dishes at once. Jian Yuman looked at him doubtfully. He had just ordered at least 3 appetizers. 2 main courses, 2 desserts. Is he going to eat it alone? That's almost it? You can go down now. Tanyuj smiled and closed the menu in his hand. Jian Yuman suddenly looked up at Tanyuj. Before she could finish speaking, the menu in her hand was taken away by Tanyuj and taken away by the service staff. I haven't ordered it yet. Jian Yuman looked deeply shocked, puffing out her cheeks angrily and glaring at Tanyuj. Isn't she the one who comes to eat? How can the waiter leave? You don't have to order, I've already ordered it for you. Tanyuj smiled, showing 8 teeth, with a mean expression that made Jian Yuman want to stretch out her hand and beat him hard. Humph! Jian Yuman snorted angrily and turned away to look at Tanyuj. His chassis, he decides. But, I'm so angry. Just now she was thinking about delicious food, but just looking at the menu names made her salivate. He actually just showed her the menu but didn't let her order, which was a kind of torture to her. Who let this be his hotel or his treat? As a freeloader, she had no right to protest. She could only eat what he ordered. As long as she has food, she is satisfied. Jian Yuman is still so angry. I felt like I was being fooled by Tanyuj for a while. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that he was doing it on purpose. He was just teasing me on purpose. When did he become so bad? When we were together in the past, most things went smoothly. Even if he was unwilling at first, he would still obey him when he saw that she was unhappy in the end. Looking at him now, he could clearly see that she was unhappy, and he was still pretending not to notice. The smile in his eyes had betrayed his thoughts. So angry. I'm so angry. She really wants to hit someone. But Jian Yuman still endured it. For the sake of a better future and a better dinner, she endured everything. Anyway, she was simply unnecessary today. She just came to eat and find excuses to leave when she was full. Dishes were placed on the table one after another, all in front of Tanyuj, including what Minister Jordan ordered, but there was actually a soup in front of Jian Yuman. She took out a spoon and fished it out, but there was nothing on it. Jian Yuman was immediately dissatisfied, dropped the spoon, pouted unhappily, and looked at Tanyuj with hatred. Why do I only have a cup of white soup, but you have 2 appetizers? Am I feeding a puppy? The baby is so angry. No, this is obviously Demon Claw Dragon Eats Tofu, which is the most popular appetizer here. As he spoke, Tangyuj put one hand on his knees and gave Qianyuman a spoonful with the other hand. Pass it to Qianyuman's mouth. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 808. Chapter 808 Tanggang's Harassment 4. When she saw the soup on her lips, she expressed doubts. It smelled just ordinary, but the name was quite good. Why does a dragon eat tofu? Qianyuman opened her mouth and moved to the edge of the spoon. She didn't feel that her actions were too intimate at this moment. She drank the food fed by Tangyuj and ate it so naturally. And a certain man who had already planned it stretched his claws on Qianyuman's thighs, and his fingertips gently rubbed her exposed skin. She took a breath of cold air instantly. She didn't take a sip of the soup, but the tofu was eaten by an old gangster. Qianyuman's sharp eyes instantly shot towards Tangyuj, and she finally understood who the devil's claw dragon he had fastened on him was, and whose tofu he ate belonged to. This old gangster indeed had a premeditated plan. Qianyuman glanced at Minister Jordan, who was eating the appetizer, narrowed his eyes slightly, stretched out his fingers, and used the trick she was most accustomed to doing in the past, using her sharp nails to pinch his flesh and rotate it back and forth 360 degrees. Her nails had been specially treated today. The tips of her nails were sharp and aggressive. Normal people would definitely scream when they were touched. Tangyuj's concentration was relatively good, but the expression on his face was slightly embarrassed and his skin was twitching. Otherwise, he looked normal. Tangyuj turned his big palm over, held Qianyuman's hand in his palm, and touched her delicate hand politely. Qian'er, why don't you drink it? Do you think this demon claw dragon eating tofu tastes bad? If you haven't drank it, how do you know it doesn't taste good? You'd better drink it and see. I just don't drink. Qianyuman raised her chin proudly. What else could be done to her if she didn't drink? She tried hard to pull her hand out, but couldn't pull it out, and the situation was somewhat deadlocked for a while. Come and have a sip, and you can drink it yourself later. Tangyuj's words were very suggestive. It's okay if you don't want to be eaten by him. You have to drink the soup from his spoon first before the hand under the table will let her go. Qianyuman opened her mouth to drink the soup from Tangyuj's spoon with some depression. The rich taste of carp stimulated her mouth. There were also many other ingredients in it. It took at least 3 hours of stewing together to create such a delicious stew. Fish soup. It looks like there is nothing in the cup, but it tastes surprisingly delicious. As expected, it was made by the chef of Dihao Hotel. It is really delicious. Qianyuman, who fell in love with the fish soup after one sip, immediately snatched her spoon back, and her hand that had been held by Tangyuj was let go. She happily drank the fish soup and felt the delicious taste of the fish soup. In less than 3 minutes, she drank down not a drop of the soup, and her eyes immediately glanced at Tangyuj's unfinished food. I fought a war of resistance in my heart for a long time, but finally endured it. She kept reminding herself in her heart that she had nothing to do with Tangyuj, and it was wrong to take the initiative to pick up the food on his plate. When Minister Jordan tried to trick her before, she was still adamant that they had divorced and there was no possibility of reconciliation. However, today she continued to engage in intimate behaviors again and again. It would be strange for him, a big shot, to believe her. Just now Tangyuj fed her soup. Minister Jordan has often given me ambiguous looks. Qianyuman resisted her hunger and finally served the main course. This time she and Tangyuj were just one main course. But the moment she looked at the main course, Qianyuman rolled her eyes and slammed the fork in her hand on the table. She really couldn't bear it. Can't stand it anymore. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 809. Chapter 809 Clumsy One. Tanyuj, what do you mean? You clearly know that I don't eat bullfrog, so why did you order an enlarged version of the bullfrog for me? Seeing the bullfrog, Qianyuman became evil and moved her stool away from the table. Qianyuman has a psychological shadow on bullfrog, and Tanyuj knows this very well. When Qianyuman was a child, she used to have a cute baby bullfrog as a pet, so she took the baby bullfrog to play with Tanyuj. As a result, the little golden turtle given to Wayang's brother when she was a child suddenly became animalistic and bit her bullfrog, and she refused to let go. She was still young at that time and the picture was too bloody. Seeing her beloved baby bullfrog being bitten to death, she has been in love with her ever since. Leaves a shadow in my heart. Let alone eating bullfrog, just the sight of it makes me sick. This old gangster actually ordered a bullfrog for himself, which was obviously retaliation for her. She couldn't help but be angry, and she was about to shed tears of anger. Minister Jordan didn't expect Qianyuman to suddenly lose her temper. As Qianyuman's super top boss, he was also stunned by her sudden outburst of temper. Tanyuj looked at Qianyuman with an innocent face. I obviously ordered chicken, why was bullfrog served? With Tanyuj's innocent expression, people who didn't know would really believe that he was innocent, but Qianyuman couldn't tell that he was just trying to make herself happy. Grandma, you have big breasts. I'm not done with you anymore. Let me talk to you. Qianyuman was so indignant that she almost slapped the table and started fighting with him. Anyway, her temper broke out, completely. She stood up suddenly and nodded politely at Minister Jordan. Minister, I think you'd better cover your eyes next, because there's no guarantee that what you see next will make you unable to eat dinner. Comrade May, if you have any issues, please speak up. We are all gentlemen, so don't do anything. Minister Jordan immediately smoothed things over, but he couldn't watch them tearing up. Simple people. I have never been a gentle person. At this time, the service staff came. Before Qianyuman could get angry, Tanyuj stood up and cursed directly at the service staff. What's going on? Where's the food I asked you to serve? Why are you served a plate of bullfrog? Tanyuj fumed angrily, looking even angrier than Qianyuman himself, scolding the waiter until he was bloody. To punish you, I will pay you the next 2 months' salary. The service staff nodded and apologized. They were very obedient. They had already understood what Tanyuj meant. How could she be serious with the chairman? The consequences of being serious might be expulsion. So she could only nod and apologize, and finally ran to apologize to Qianyuman. I hope her forgiveness and sincere attitude made Qianyuman stunned for a moment. Did she really misunderstand Tanyuj? Tanyuj took the initiative and taught the waiter a lesson. The waiter did not deny it and took all the blame on himself, leaving her with nowhere to get angry. Finally, the food was changed, and Qianyuman sat back at the table to eat, but she was obviously unhappy. Tanyuj raised the wine in his glass with shame, just like Qianyuman dragged the glass. Qianur, I apologize for the comfort of the staff. I'll buy you a drink. Tanyuj raised his hand and waited for Qianyuman to clink glasses with her without drinking. Qianyuman looked at him and had no choice but to pick up the cup, raise it to him and clink glasses with him. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 810. Chapter 810 Clumsy 2. Tanyuj raised his hand and waited for Qianyuman to clink glasses with her without drinking. Qianyuman looked at him and had no choice but to pick up the cup, raise it to him and clink glasses with him. The change suddenly changed. The wine glass in Tanyuj's hand suddenly tilted and was thrown towards him, and the wine poured on his lower clothes. Tang Yuzhejun's face was full of shock, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. From time to time, he stared at his pants and Qian Yuman, who had just clinked glasses with him, silently accusing her of actually revenge him. I didn't mean it. Qian Yuman awkwardly took out the napkin and wiped the wine stains on his clothes, which made her charming face turn red. The area where he wiped off the wine stains just now was a bit awkward, as it was located on a special part of Tang Yuzh's body. After Qian Yuman's busy wiping, she clearly felt someone's reaction. Qian Yuman, who had not touched a man for a long time, was blushing for the first time, especially in front of Minister Jordan. Although she called herself a veteran in the past, she always liked to keep the door closed. Even if her anger leaked out, it was only towards Tang Yuzh. She had never made such a bold move in front of outsiders. Qian Yuman retracted her hand, not daring to look at the way Minister Jordan looked at her. Even if she didn't look at it, she could guess that Minister Jordan's expression at this moment was absolutely wonderful, comparable to international blockbusters. Tang Yuzh's expression was natural, neither humble nor arrogant, neither shy nor angry, and he naturally and calmly held Qian Yuman's tender little hand. "I haven't dried it yet. Get your sister dry." Qian Yuman stretched out her hand and punched someone unceremoniously, and someone's expression instantly became very wonderful. "Mr. Tang, are you okay?" Minister Jordan, who had witnessed everything, had to laugh or not. Seeing the interaction between the two, his eyes showed a youthful smile. "I'm fine." Someone pursed his lips, waved, and bent slightly to wave to everyone. "I'm going to change into a pair of pants. You guys can use them while you're at ease." Tang Yuzh stood up and walked out slowly. Qian Yuman saw that his walking posture was strange, and she couldn't help but take a few more worried glances. She seemed to have struck too hard just now. Could it be that he would be deprived of his descendants? Seeing Qian Yuman's worry, Minister Jordan teased with a loving smile. "I see that Mr. Tang is in terrible condition. May, would you like to go over and see if he needs to be sent to the hospital?" "Let me go take a look." Qian Yuman immediately stood up and ran out. After asking where Tang Yuzh had gone, she immediately ran over quickly and broke in without knocking on the door. Mr. Tang, who had just changed out of his shorts, was now like a newborn baby, holding a pair of clean pants in his hand. When he heard someone breaking in, he did not pretend to be in a hurry, but the old was saying, "I didn't expect you to be so enthusiastic. I can't wait," Tang Yuzh joked with a smile. When Qian Yuman saw him wandering in front of her like this, she immediately turned around and stopped looking. The visual effect was pretty good, but she longed to turn around in her heart, but that place was not contracted by her and she couldn't touch it. So it's better not to watch it. It's really a pity. That's too regretful. It's a pity that as a devil woman of her generation, I can't continue to watch it, and I can't do anything about it. But even after just one glance, it still left a deep impression on Qian Yuman. Tang Yuzh kept appearing in her mind. The little devil soul in her heart was burning, but she could do nothing. What a pity. End of this chapter.